מאמין, אוי אני מאמין, באמונו של אמו, אוי בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, אוי בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין. אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אוי אני מאמין, אוי באמונו של אמו, אוי בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, אוי בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, אוי אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אוי אני מאמין, אוי באמונו של אמו, אוי בביאס המושיח, בביאס המושיח אני מאמין, ואף על פי שישמח עם כל זה אני מאמין, אוי ואף על פי שישמח עם כל זה אני מאמין, אני מאמין. Da 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 da, ay 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 ay, ay ro da 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 da, ay ro ro, ay da 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 da, ay 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 ay, ay ro da 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 da, rai rai da 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 da, ay rai 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 da. Rai rai da 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 da, my rai da, ay da 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 da, my ay 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 da, rai rai da 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 da, rai rai da da, my rai da, ay rai da da, my rai da, dai la dai la da 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 da. Ay da da, ay da da da, ay da da, ay la da da, bum bum bum. Ay da da, ay da da, ay da da da, ay da da, ay la da da, ay la la da da, hey, da da da, ay da da, ay da da. Ay da 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 da, oy oy oy. Hey ay dai dai da, ay dai dai da, ay dai dai da, ay di di da. Hey ay dai dai da, ay dai dai da, ay dai dai da, ay di di da. Ay di di da, ay di di da, ha ha ha. bidi bidi bam hop kazak. Hey hop kazak. Hey hop kazak. Hey hop kazak. Hey hop kazak. Shimmy bidi bom hey.
Gentlemen, honored guests, at this time we'd like to invite you all to please find your seats. Once again, please find your seats at this time. Our program is about to begin. Thank you. Gentlemen, esteemed guests, once again, we'd like to kindly ask you to find your seats at this time. Our program is about to begin. Thank you.
Many. Good evening and welcome to the Kinous Hachlouhim Ha'olami. On behalf
Weg. 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 I'm going to count down over, right? I'm going to go into count down over.
I have a mute too.
Wednesday, the 18th of Elul, 1745. That morning, the Baal Shem Tov himself led the communal prayers, singing joyful songs to the wonderment of all present. As the prayers progressed, it became obvious that the Baal Shem Tov was celebrating something that only he could have known. And the Baal Shem Tov held a festive meal. He invited all his students, and in the midst of the meal, he spoke. On the fourth day of creation, the luminaries were hung in the heavens. Today, the fourth day of the week, a new soul has descended upon this earth. It will illuminate this world with both the revealed and the hidden teachings of the Torah. And it will show great self-sacrifice for the Hasidic way. And it will succeed until the coming of Mashiach. That day, over 500 miles away, near a town called Liasna in Belarus, Shneur Zalman was born. History would name him the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad. The Alter Rebbe did indeed illuminate the revealed Torah. His teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, requested that he compose a new compilation of the Code of Jewish Law, and his work has since become a foundation stone in the realm of halacha. As for the hidden teachings, he was able to achieve the miraculous, providing metaphor and teachings that render godliness a living, real, and almost tangible experience for the everyman. He called his approach Chabad, an acronym for three powers of the intellect. Chachma, intellectual vision. Bina, mental processing. Dat, realization. The Baal Shem Tov believed that within the soul of every Jew lie deep hidden powers. With Chabad, the Alter Rebbe showed us how to ignite those hidden powers by opening the channels of our minds. It is through the mind, he taught, that the soul can reach down to the heart and transform everyday life. The Baal Shem Tov taught that every Jew can serve God from the heart with joy and with love. The Alter Rebbe took that Jew by the hand and showed him or her how, step by step, mountain by mountain, day by day. The Rebbe publishes a small book distilled from 6 generations of Chabad teachings to guide a Jewish soul on a pathway of brilliant light throughout the year, day by day. The first work to openly bear his name, he titled it Hayom Yom. That winter, the previous Rebbe would write about the book. It is small in format, but packed with pearls and diamonds of the choicest quality. God Almighty has blessed my son-in-law, the scholar Rabbi Menachem Mendel, with the talent necessary to erect such a splendid palace of Hasidus with 383 chambers, from which each day communicates an important message. It is a true Hayom Yom, for its every day is, indeed, a day. Hayom Yom is sometimes translated as from day to day. The literal meaning, however, is today is a day. As the Rebbe taught, it's up to us to make each day indeed a day.
Wie es steht bei den nächsten Lieden, wo Avrom sagen, Bob Bayom im Taschzerop in Seher, als Avrom ist gekommen mit alle seine Tag. Jeder Tag hat gehabt, was zu beweisen, dass gewähnt ein Tag, was nicht ist. Das ist Avrom, Oivis, Ator. Aber Said guckt auf den Segen. Und das geht ihm mit der Träßel. Als geht durch eine Regel, was guckt auf den Segen und tut gar nicht. Ist das nicht der Pschat, als gekonnt hat, am Mitzvah und hat nicht getan, das hat verloren hat dem Rege. Wird gegeben dem Rege, la omal jivolit, soll durchführen dem ewigsten Schlichus. Durch den Ruf, was hat machen von dem Rege. A der Rege wird werden a Sach, a lebendige, a Sach, was hat in sich a Inhalt, hat in sich an Inhalt, verbunden mit dem, was hat Beschaffensmacht.
2012, 200 years since the Alter Rebbe's passing. The 70th cycle of Hayom Yom. Over 4,000 Chabad Shluchim worldwide now carry a message to every part of the globe and to every human being, to breathe life into each day, to endow each moment with meaning. And not just any meaning, but a meaning connected to the one who created time itself.
Good evening and welcome to the Kinous Hachlouhim Tafshin Ayin Gimel 2012. Tonight, we gather together, B'li Ayin Hara, 4,622 people who are participating in this Kinous Hachlouhim. Unfortunately, as we will speak about it later, the elements of nature were not very kind to the states of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and many others. And what we thought would be a Kinous taking place in the pier where the largest cruise ship in the world docks turned out to be an impossibility. So tonight we are here. Blessed be God that the Hilton was available, but we are here in 4 different halls. And I'd like to extend a welcome to those that are sitting here in the Grand Ballroom, those that are in the Trianon Ballroom, those that are in the Petit Trianon, those that are in the Sutton and the Regent Ballrooms. Hine ma'tov u'ma'noyim sheves achim gam yochad. We are all sitting together, as the Rebbe and the previous Rebbe said when he left Russia, that distance will not make it. We will be together even though we may be distant in miles. Here we are only distant in a few feet, but we are all together. So tonight we have a Chassidische Farbrengen, where we will celebrate, and we are celebrating, those elements that unfortunately didn't have power, but from this room shall go out a tremendous power to the world, to be able to change the world and make it into a world of goodness and kindness, a world of righteousness and holiness, so that we may be prepared for the ultimate coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Kinous this year marks the 200th anniversary of the passing of the Alter Rebbe and the 70th year of the publishing of the Rebbe's first work, the Hayom Yom. On the 150th anniversary of the Alter Rebbe's Histalkus, the Rebbe told a story. The Rebbe said that the Rebbe lived in the same home as house as his son, the Mittler Rebbe. One night, the Alter Rebbe lived on the first floor, the Mittler Rebbe lived on the second floor. One night, one of the children of the Mittler Rebbe fell out of his cradle and was crying. The Mittler Rebbe was so engrossed in lofty matters, in his learning, that he did not hear the child's cry. The Alter Rebbe did hear his child's cry, got up, went upstairs, took the baby, cradled the child until the child fell asleep. He called in his son and he admonished him. And he said to him, no matter how engrossed you may be, the holiest of matters, one must never fail to hear the cry of a child. And this was the lesson that the Rebbe imparted to the Shluchim and to the world on the 150th year of the passing of the Alter Rebbe. That no matter how engrossed we may be, in whatever it may be, we may never fail to hear the cry of a child. And today, there are 4,262 shluchim around the world. Shluchei shel Adam k'moisei. People who represent the Rebbe and represent the Rebbe's ideals and values, that do not fail to hear the cry of the child, for that is their mission in life. Today, we mark that not only is a child someone that is under bar mitzvah, but it is that child that comes with his mother to the Mommy and Me program. It is that child that comes to the preschool. It is that child that comes to the kindergarten. It is that child that goes to the day school. It is that teen that belongs to C-teen or JLI teens. It is that young adult, that young professional. It is those young couples. It is all of Klal Yisrael till the senior citizens of Tveres Zikanim, Levi Yitzchak, those that are our grandparents and great-grandparents. Each one of us are children of the Eibishter. And when one hears the cry of a child, may he be in the United States, may he be in West Africa, may he be in the farthest reaches of the Far East, which the Rebbe did not want to call it the Far East. When I once took over someone to the Rebbe and I said he is from Bangkok, the Rebbe said, you're from a place in the East that is not called near, because the Rebbe would not call someone that he is far. Whether he is in the former Soviet Union or wherever he may be, that child that is crying has a listening ear by the shluchim. So tonight, we celebrate the life of the shliach, the legacy of the Rebbe, who imparted to each and every one of us that responsibility. It's trying times in the world. They talk about threats that are coming, nuclear threats, other threats. This is a time when we really miss the Rebbe. For upon every situation that there was, whenever there was a war, whenever there was something happening to the Jewish people, the Rebbe knew the exact antidote that would pre-warn it. Whether it was mitzvah tefillin, putting on tefillin with Jews, whether it was mezuzah, whether it was an increase in Torah, an increase in mitzvahs, little children learning Torah. Today, the elements are such that we do not know what is tomorrow. But what we do know is that it is incumbent upon us to take each and every one of the Rebbe's teachings, each and every one of the Rebbe's campaigns, and be active in each and every one of them. Like you make a cocktail of medicines, make a conglomerate of all of the things that the Rebbe taught us. An increase in Torah, tefillin, bringing light into the world by having Jewish women and girls light Shabbos candles. And this will prevent that we are sure that we will be secure in our land. We will be secure in our hopes and desires for our children and for our future. And may the Almighty God grant to each and every one of us all the blessings of peace, health, happiness, prosperity. Yiddish chassidische nachas to and from all your loved ones, with the wisdom, patience, kindness, and understanding to be able to withstand all the trials and tribulations we may encounter, both material as well as spiritual. And may we speedily in our days merit the true redemption with the coming of Mashiach, for the Rebbe has promised us that this is the last generation of Golus and it will be the first generation of Geula. And the Dor HaShviya will bring the Shekhinah back to this earth. May it be speedily in our days. So let's sit back tonight. Let us bring together. Let us say L'chaim. Let us sing together the Nigunim. Let us dance together. And Simcha Peretz Geder. Joy will break all boundaries, that we will speedily in our days merit the true redemption with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. We will now say Tillim for the success of our shlichus, our families, shidduchim for our children, finances, refuah for all who are in need, and health in general. The chair asks that we have in mind a very, very, very special individual. Ha'isha Chashuva Dveira Bas Eta, the wife of the chairman of Merkez Liyanei Chinuch Machne Yisrael, someone for 40 years served as the personal secretary of the Rebbe, someone whose life is dedicated to shluchim and shlichus, a woman who many, many nights for many, many years, when the Rebbe would receive people till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, would be home alone waiting for a husband who was standing by the door of the Rebbe, letting in the people of Yechidus to personal encounters, and then taking the Rebbe home. The chair asks that you have in mind Dveira Bas Eta for our Refuah Shleiman, our Refuah Kreva, B'mheira B'yameinu, and together with her husband they should have Arichas Yomim V'shonim Tevis Ad Meya V'yesrim. We also ask that you have in mind Hashliach Menachem Mendel Alevi Benita. The Tillim will be recited by the Shliach and Chief Rabbi of Holland, Rabbi Benjamin Jacobs, honored this year by the Queen of Netherlands as an officer of the Order of Orange Nassau among Holland's highest honors. The Tillim will be recited from the Trianon Ballroom.
Hallelujah, Eid Adonai, b'chol levov, b'seit yeshor yiveido. Gedei mas Adonai, derushim l'chol cheftzehem. Heit v'hodop olei, v'tzit kosei, emedes loat. Zeeg osol nifleis of Chanun v'rachum Adonai. Teref nosan lirayov yiskel elon brisei. Keach masov higit lamei los esluhem nachalas goyim. Maaseh Yodov emes umishpot nemonim kol pikudov. Smuchim loat lo elom asuyim beemes v'yoshor. Bedush sholach lamei tzivol elom berisei kodesh v'noi roshemei. Reishis chochma yiras Adonai sechel teufel choleisehem tilosei emedes loat.
We will now say the Rebbitzins Kapitel for the safety and security of our Jewish brothers the world over, especially in Eretz Yisrael. God should grant that it should be a Eretz Betucha, v'yeshvim levetach b'yartzachem, that we should sit securely in secure borders in Eretz Yisrael, and nobody should be able to dictate the borders of Eretz Yisrael because they were given to us by the Almighty God. The Tillim will be recited by Rabbi Yaakov Reitzes, Shliach and Rabbi of Yisod HaMayla in Eretz Yisrael from the Sutton and Regent Ballroom.
Hallelujah, Ashrei ish yoreyes Adinoi, b'mitzvois ov chofetz me'oid. Giber ba'oretz yezaroi, deir yeshorim yeveiroch. Hoin va'oisher beveisoi, v'tzidikosoi, oimedes lo'ad. Zorach b'choshech oir la'yeshorim, chanun v'rachum v'tzadik. Toiv ish chayneinu malve, yechalkel dvorov b'mishpot. Ki le'olam lo yimoit, le'zeicher olam yihye tzadik. Mishmuaro lo yiro, nochin liboi, botuach badeinoi. Samuch liboi lo yiro, ad asher yire v'tzorov. Pizar nosan lo evyoinim, tzidkos ayoimedes lo ad, karnei torum bechovoid. Rosh Yire v'choas, shinov yacharik v'nomos, tavas reshoim toivei.
We will now recite a Kapitel Tillim for the recovery and the rebuilding of the scores of the communities, families, and Chabad centers devastated by the recent hurricane on the eastern seaboard. Before the Alter Rebbe even met the Maggid and introduced Chabad, he gave away his dowry to help Jews buy clothes for their loved ones, so that loved ones could have a livelihood. The Baal Shem Tov as well. Shluchim usually deal with Ruchnius, but the Gashmius of a Yid, the material being of a Yid, comes first. Shluchim have been so instrumental in these last few weeks, doing something to help those communities that have been devastated by the Hurricane Sandy. The Tillim will be recited by Rabbi Levi Gurkov of Chabad of Oceanside, New York, on behalf of the heroic recovery efforts of the over 30 shluchim in the affected areas. Please be seated.
My name is Chaim Brickman. We are shluchim here called Chabad by the Ocean. When this zone was said to be evacuated, there were numerous balabatim who had literally nowhere to go, and they said we have to stick it out. And we made the decision, very conscious decision. We told them that as long as there's going to be a Jew here in this community, we are going to be here with you. We will not leave. Chabad offices was totally destroyed. There's not a paper that was salvageable. Tremendous devastation throughout the community. We have Balabatim who stopped by here just a few hours ago, literally homeless, and everything that they own is gone. My library, which you see part of it over here, which included 10,000 Sfarim, just my personal Sfarim besides the Chabad library. My tefillin used to lay right here on the table. They still haven't been found. A car stopped me this morning He says, I want you to please tell your little son thank you. So he came over to me and he told me, don't worry, we will rebuild better and nicer than before. He says, it's kept me going throughout the whole week. I didn't realize myself the power of words, the power of encouragement.
Two boys, okay? Thank you so much. Okay,
so you have two volunteers from the Chabad. More than just cleaning out their homes and their basements, it's giving them the strength. It's giving them the strength to be able to go on and to rebuild. And this is really our zechus to be able to do it.
Okay.
My name is Rabbi Eli Goodman. I'm here with my wife Bela and my 4 children. We are the Chabad here in Long Beach. Sunday night we started to prepare, expecting a foot of water or 2 feet at the most of water in our apartment. So we protected the best that we possibly could. I told my wife and my kids, I said, we're leaving right now, Monday morning, and we left about 12 noon, about 4 or 5 hours before the storm hit. About 3 a.m., when the water subsided, I climbed in with a flashlight, took a look what was going on. The house looked like a madman had totally destroyed, and we actually had waves in our apartment about 4 feet high, and the waves basically pushed all the furniture, so the Sfarim, the books that were on higher places, got thrown to the ground and got thrown around. It's a dreadful experience, and we were advised not to bring my children here. My children haven't seen their bedrooms. We don't want to see what happened over there. We've been going to people's homes. We had a whole list of people emailing us and asking us where their relatives are. Some are elderly, some are disabled, some are people that didn't want to open up for the Red Cross or the National Guard. But when they knew that the Chabad or Rabbi Goodman, or when they knew that another Jewish person was knocking the door, some of them opened. We brought them to the food, brought them some clothing. But we try to make the best out of the situation. It's going to be difficult, but we will rebuild. But the fact is, as long as people are healthy and people are safe, that's what's most important. We've been fanning out to a lot of the buildings, a lot of the houses, helping people take out their furniture, provide food. By helping others, automatically brings a cheer and a smile to your own face, and you know that you're helping others. God will help us and will help the entire community.
Everyone needs help. Everyone needs help. Our hearts are out to the community, and we're getting help for the community, and whatever we can do there just to help whoever's in need. We're just trying to get the place restored and continue life and help people get back to normal life. The initial reaction of a shliach is that as long as there's one yid staying there, you know, we're there for them, and there's no way we were going to leave.
I would like to thank all my fellow shluchim from all over the world who were very concerned for our safety, for my family's safety and for the community's safety, and they immediately mobilized and from gas. We were out of gas. We're the only people here in town that have a supply of gas for our generators from Connecticut, from New Jersey. I'd like to thank my brother and fellow shluchim that really helped and mobilized, and the network of Chabad is tremendous, and I see it firsthand, and literally tears of joy from the community. The heartfelt thanks that they give is unbelievable.
Rabbi Levi Gurkov will now recite chapter 20 in Tehillim Lamnatzei Yancha.
Lamnatzeyach Mizmer LeDavid Yancha Denoi B'yim Tzora Yisagev Choshem Elehi Yankov Yishlach Ezechem Ekoidesh Umitzi Yoin Yisodeko Yisker Komen Chaysecha Vaylos Choyedash Naselo ייתן לך כל בואך וכל עצוסך ימלא. נרננו בישועתך ובשם אלוהינו נתגאל ימלא אדוני כל משאלתך. אתה ידעתי כי יושיע אדוני משיחי יענהו משמי קודשי בגבורת ישע ימינוי. אלה ברכב ואלה בסוסים ואנחנו משם אדוני אלוהינו נזכיר. המה קורו ונפלו ואנחנו קמנו ונסיידוד. אדוני יושיע מלך יעננו ויום קראנו.
צמא נפשי, קומא לך בשרי, בארץ ציון ויהיה בבלי מויי.
In 1946, the Rebbe began a program which was known as Merker Shlichus, instructing the Talmidim, the students of the yeshiva, give up their summer vacations, Pesach, to leave their families, and to go out into small communities around the world to bring the light of Judaism. This year, 928 rabbinical students visited 1,450 communities around the world. Many of the shluchim here today were participants in the Merker Shlichus program, and thereby they achieved their shlichus. The Dvar Torah tonight will be recited by Rabbi Eli Rosenfeld, Shliach to Lisbon, Portugal, who spent a number of years, a number of Pesachs, cultivating the Portugal Jewish community so that it should be ready to receive a Shliach. Rabbi Rosenfeld will recite the Dvar Torah from the Trianon Ballroom. Please, your attention.
All parents want the best for their children. We want to provide them with the most positive and healthy environment possible. One that would be most conducive to their finding happiness and achieving success. A responsible parent would give anything for his or her child to be physically and spiritually safe and secure. Our forefathers were certainly no different. And yet, in this week's Parsha, we find a rather puzzling episode. It was time for Yaakov to marry, but his parents, Yitzchak and Rivka, were certain that the women of Canaan were not appropriate for their son Yaakov. So what did they do? They sent him off on a long and treacherous journey to his uncle Lavan, who lived in Haran, with the goal of finding a suitable match there. The Rebbe raises the question, was there not a simpler and safer way of achieving that goal? Couldn't Yaakov's parents have sent a messenger to find a good shidduch for him, as we had seen done before? Why expose him to the hazards and travel of the destructive elements and culture of Haran? Lavan was an idol worshiper, a shady and deceitful character. His home was far from an ideal environment for any nice Jewish boy, let alone one with the capabilities and spiritual sensitivity that Yaakov possessed. And yet, Yaakov is sent to live in Haran by his loving parents, Yitzchak and Rivka. Why would they expose their son to such a challenging set of circumstances? This question is not merely academic. Living in Lisbon, Portugal, my wife and I often face a similar line of questioning. How do you plan on educating your children? Wouldn't they be better off living in a larger Jewish community? How can you expect your children to live by your values when they are being raised in a society that has very different priorities? These are valid questions, ones that I'm sure many in this room have heard before. So why do shluchim put themselves and their children into this type of difficult situation? Returning to the Parsha, the Rebbe explains that Yitzchak and Rivka sent their son on that journey not because they were unaware of the potential dangers he'd be facing, but because they knew that it was a move that would ultimately be to his benefit. They knew that within that perilous journey itself lay the opportunity for the greatest of blessings. Yitzchak's frame of reference originated with his father, Abraham, who, when promised by Hashem that his descendants would become a great nation, was given the formula for receiving such powerful blessings. Lech lecha, go forth, Hashem said. Leave your familiar surroundings and journey outward. Only by navigating the challenging terrain of his journeys could Abraham realize the loftiest of blessings. Why was that so? Because in order to receive the fullest measure of Hashem's limitless blessings, one must transform and become ready to receive this type of spiritual energy. Yitzchak wanted Yaakov's blessings to be like those given to Abraham, boundless and immeasurable. And he knew that the formula for attaining such blessings was Lech Lecha. Leave everything that is comfortable and familiar to you and set out on a new journey. Yes, perhaps Yaakov would have preferred to remain in Eretz Canaan, enveloped in the light and warmth of his parents' home. But such a course would not have provided him with the infinite blessings he would need to become Yaakov Avinu, the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Only by embarking upon this difficult journey to a distant land did Yaakov earn the brachas of Avram, enabling him to ultimately return with a beautiful family, the future of Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. This theme relates directly to the experience of shluchim everywhere. It is true that leaving the comfort of home is not easy, but every shlichus, undertaken in the spirit of Lech Lecha, transforms ourselves and the world around us. We become a conduit for blessings beyond limit and measure, not only for ourselves and our children, but for our communities as well. This is exactly the assurance we received from our Mishaleach, the Rebbe, exactly 25 years ago. In an address to the Kinous, the gathering of Shluchim in Tashuvim Ches 1987, the Rebbe emphasized that every shliach receives a bracha that not only carries him through and remains with him throughout his shlichus, but continues on to his descendants ad soif kol ha'olam, for all eternity. Indeed, the Rebbe continues, we can see the fulfillment of these brachas. Shluchim who were appointed decades ago have merited phenomenal success in boundless and immeasurable fashion, not only in building vibrant Jewish communities, but also in raising beautiful families of Teire Yiddische Kinder, Jewish children devoted to Torah and mitzvahs. Clearly, this lesson applies to all of us. To access the blessings of Avraham, Lech Lecha, leave your comfort zone. When we are dedicated to a cause that is greater than ourselves, Hashem responds in kind by granting us capabilities that we didn't know that we possessed, and blessing us with success beyond what we could have imagined. In our own lives, may we continue to have the strength and selflessness to take that next step, to embark on our next great journey that brings forth limitless blessings for our families and communities until we reach the ultimate destination of all our journeys, the coming of Mashiach immediately now.
To address the theme tonight, we have chosen a shliach who is the embodiment of a living example to shluchim around the world. To introduce him, we are going to ask a member of his community, a founding member of Chabad of Strathaven, Johannesburg, South Africa. A successful entrepreneur and real estate developer in South Africa, a dear friend, supporter of Shluchim, the backbone of Chabad's vast activities and programs in this community, part of a delegation of over 70 lay leaders who are joining us from South Africa. Please welcome Mr. Stephen Solarz from Strathaven, South Africa.
Good evening, honored Shluchim of the Rebbe, Chief Rabbi Lau, and members of the Chabad lay leadership. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined myself standing here addressing 4,000 black-hatted, bearded rabbis. To be honest, a few years ago, I would never have imagined attending such an event, let alone addressing it. My journey with Chabad began some 20-odd years back. Back then, I'd racked up a grand total of 2 shul visits in my life. Once for my bar mitzvah and the other for my wedding. Kosher wasn't even part of my vocabulary those days. Not surprisingly, I avoided rabbis at all costs. Then one day, my wife told me she had met this Rebbitzin. I thought nothing of it. Big mistake. That was when I learned my first lesson about Chabad rabbis, and especially Chabad Rebbitzins. They do not understand the word no. In this case, Rebbitzin Rochel Goldman found out that my wife, Janine, and I wanted to have a third child. But the doctors had told us that this was impossible. Rebbitzin Rochel then advised Janine to write to the Rebbe for a brocha. When Janine came home with this suggestion, I absolutely refused. As far as I saw it, no elderly rabbi in New York, whom we had never met or even spoken to, was going to wave a wand and give us a baby. I refused to have any part in this mumbo-jumbo black magic scheme. When Janine reported my refusal to Rebbitzin Goldman, she immediately contacted her husband and put him on the case. Rabbi Yossi Goldman then called me and said, "Stephen, you want a child. You've tried everything else and the doctors have told you no go. What have you got to lose? Write a letter." I did. 2 weeks later, Janine was pregnant. As amazed as I was, I did not become a card-carrying Chabadnik at that point. Now, some 20 years later, I am a card-carrying Chabadnik. Well, at least I carry the credit card. "14 years ago, I began to attend a weekly Torah class at the main Chabad house in Johannesburg. There, I met a young, naive and idealistic rabbi who had a dream of opening a Chabad house in our area. I naturally imagined that he had thoroughly researched the demographics of the area and that he had the financial backing needed to get this thing off the ground. Then I learned my second lesson about Chabad Shluchim. They run headfirst into any opportunity to spread and strengthen Judaism and believe absolutely that the necessary resources will fall into place. When my new, passionate young rabbi explained this to me, I thought he was Meshuggah. Only years later did I appreciate that he intended for me to be one of his resources. Eager to help bring Chabad into our neighborhood, I joined the rabbi in his search for a suitable property. Soon enough, we found a large house that looked well suited for Chabad activities and a shul. Being involved in property, I anticipated that the house would sell for far more than we could afford. But the rabbi wrote a letter to the Rebbe for a brocha. The property went on auction and we landed up buying it for far less than the value of the land itself. Chabad of Strathaven was born. Chabad moved in and our little minion kicked off. In the first months, we would typically wait on Shabbos mornings for that ever-elusive 10th man to arrive. My own teenage son would have his Saturday morning snooze or regular soccer matches hijacked by the rabbi, who consistently dragged him out to bed kicking and screaming so he could make the minyan. I was absolutely sure that this would turn him off Judaism forever. Instead, I'm proud to be here tonight with my son, Simcha, who is perfectly camouflaged in the sea of black hats. He is a graduate of the spectacular Mayonot Yeshiva, and a fully fledged Lubavitcher. As I said, you can't say no to a Chabad rabbi. Today, Baruch Hashem, we are no longer a little minion in the garage. We have just completed building a beautiful new shul and learning center. These past high holidays, we hosted 300 people and now offer over 20 weekly classes, a vibrant women's circle, and regular children's programs. Personally, I've gone from rabbi-phobic to a Jew who tries to do his best to consistently take small steps in the right direction. Whereas before, I'd been deeply skeptical of the miracle rabbi in New York, I now have no doubt that the Rebbe's brochas remain potent. Last year, my rabbi schlepped me to New York to the Kinous for my third time. Then just 4 months ago, he schlepped me together with my wife and 16 other members of our community to visit the Ohel. And now, he has schlepped me here again for this year's Kinous Hachlouhim. I met my rabbi about 10 years after I'd met Rabbi Yossi Goldman. 10 years ago, Rabbi Yossi Goldman stood here and delivered the keynote address. Tonight, it is my honor to introduce you to the person who, together with his Rebbetzin, has schlepped me and many others like me along our journey to Judaism, to Chabad, and to the Rebbe, Rabbi Ari Shishler.
Thank you, Stephen. I was going to say for warm words, but for unbelievable words. One day can change everything. I'll tell you, one day changed our family forever. 12 years ago, we were held up at gunpoint in our Chabad house. It had been a pleasant Shabbos afternoon until that point. Most of the crowd had already left. Those of us who remained behind were chatting, relaxed in the afterglow of a powerful Farbrengen and somewhat weighed down by Cholent. And suddenly, our front gate opened. 3 men walked in. You know what's happening even before you know what's happening. You can taste the fear. Your heart pulsates in your ears. And the only thought that possesses you is, please let them not hurt anybody. Somehow the gang leader identified me as the one in charge of our group. He cocked his gun. I can remember that cold metallic click vividly, leveled it at my chest and held it there for an interminable 10 minutes while his cronies robbed our guests. Baruch Hashem, we were all deeply shaken, but thank God, very grateful to have survived. Very grateful that while they had taken things, they had not harmed anybody. And to be honest, now we look back at it and we actually laugh about it, because from the outside, Nebuch, these luckless hooligans thought that our house, come Chabad house, was a mansion. How shocked they were to walk inside and instead of lavish furniture to see plastic stacking chairs and steel folding tables, where they had anticipated that they would find cash, jewelry, wealth, they found piles of plates with Cholent residue. And quite honestly, they clearly hadn't done their research and did not realize what sort of meager pickings a shul would provide, especially on a Shabbos. For a start, they demanded all the cash on the premises, and I had to explain to them, this is a Chabad house. We're the ones who ask for cash. And then they said, okay, give us your wallets. And I had to give them a shiur in the laws of the Jewish Sabbath. So they said, how about cell phones? They were slow learners. Thank God, as I say, they left and nobody was harmed. But that day changed the way I saw everything. You know, people have asked us, why do you still live there? How come you haven't left for safer shores? And there are two answers. The first is because Chabad Hasidim do not pack it in the face of adversity. And more importantly, it would make no sense to leave the place that the Rebbe consistently blessed again and again over decades to be a wonderful place for Jews to live until Mashiach comes. Occasionally I get the well-intentioned but socially inept people who ask, so why didn't they shoot you? Look, I don't know. But I believe absolutely that Hashem sent them not to harm us, but to teach us a lesson. And from that day on, I could never look at life the same. From that day on, I saw and understood that every day is valuable. Every day is a gift. Every day has to be meaningful. The theme of this year's Kinous, Kol Yoma V'Yoma Ovid Avidite. Chief Rabbi Lau, honored members of Merkaz Inyonei Chinuch and the Kinous Committee, fellow Shluchim, many of you asked me during the last few days, are you nervous to get up and speak? Over the last few days of spending the Kinous together with all of you, I feel like I'm with family, with brothers. All who have joined us here tonight in person, and all who have joined us here tonight via the technology of live streaming, or by following all those techno-savvy shluchim who are live tweeting every moment of this event. I'm overawed tonight to address the group of people I have most looked up to my whole life. Many of you are the people who inspired, who nurtured, who guided me to explore Hasidus, to visit the Rebbe, and to eventually sign up for this army of world betterment known as Shlichus. I only hope that speaking here tonight is in some way a tribute to the work, that sterling work, that all Shluchim and Shluchos do every single day. It is especially poignant to stand here together with a wonderful contingent from South Africa as we celebrate the Shnas Ha'arboim, the 40th year from when the Rebbe sent his first Shluchim, Rabbi Mendel and Mashi Lipska, to South Africa. May you and all the Shluchim back home succeed in everything you do. May Chayil El Chayil, from strength to strength, in an unbelievably successful way. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we were meant to all be together in one hall at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. But one day changed that. One day that irrevocably changed the lives of thousands of people. Just one day. As Hurricane Sandy battered the East Coast, many people were concerned, will the Kinous still go ahead? I mean, the marathon was nixed. The subways and the airports were shut down. How would Chabad Lubavitch go ahead with this event? I remember how the famous icon of personal sacrifice, Reb Mendel Futterfass, would drum into our heads in yeshiva that Chabad never steps down in the face of challenges. Chabad Lubavitch outreach movement, the Chabad Lubavitch outreach movement was born under the shadow of Stalin's purges. And the Rebbe's global initiative to reawaken Judaism was at a time when the devastation of the Holocaust and secularist apathy threatened the continuity of Judaism. We were brought up on a diet of lechatchila ariber, where mountains are there to scale and challenges are there to overcome. Superstorm Sandy was devastating, but Chabad Lubavitch is stronger. You can be assured that the Kinous Committee never entertained the question of if there would be a Kinous this year, but rather how this would be an outstanding Kinous. And dozens of shluchim, as we've just seen in the video, have been personally devastated by last week's storm. They've lost their homes, their Chabad houses. They've lost years of work and investment. These shluchim are reeling now. Yet they have used every day since Sandy hit to counsel others, to feed others, to provide food for others, to shelter others, where they should and could have spent the time piecing their own lives together. Only tonight they have paused here momentarily to join with their fellow shluchim, to re-energize, to revitalize, to be able to go back to the front. May Hashem, who inundated your homes, flood you with the brachas of good health, parnasa b'harchava, nachas from your children, and exceptional success in your shlichus every day. Let us all rise and pay tribute to the heroic shluchim of the Eastern Seaboard who have spent every day since the hurricane hit helping Jews in the most difficult circumstances. One day can change everything. Think Sandy. Think 9/11. Or more importantly, lahavdil, think the day of the giving of the Torah. The truth is, people place a premium on big days, important days. But the Rebbe taught us to value every single day. The Rebbe valued time absolutely and saw every moment as opportune. The Rebbetzin once noticed a few bochrim loitering in 770 and went over to them and said, in the time that you have stood here, my husband would have made a siyum. He would have concluded Bava Basra, the longest tractate of the Talmud. The Rebbe valued time. How apt then that the Rebbe's first publication should be Hayom Yom. This year we celebrate 70 years from the publication of that seminal work. And this year's Kinous is dedicated to the credo of that book, that every day is created with fresh purpose, and every day presents a unique opportunity. Kol Yoma v'Yoma Avi Davidate. Hayom Yom is not merely a collection of thoughts and inspirations, or Chabad customs for the year. Hayom Yom is a template for how a chassid should live. Hayom Yom. Today is the day. Seize it. Use it. Make it count. Hayom Yom is a tapestry of entries. Some days the message ignites and inspires. Other days provide historical anecdotes or textual nuances of classic Hasidic works. The structure of Hayom Yom illustrates that not every day is dazzling, but every day is significant. I'm not sure if you heard about Meish and Rose, who went to a popular kosher restaurant in the city, and they arrive over there for dinner, and the host, a young man, apologizes to them and says, I'm sorry, but there's approximately a 45-minute wait for a table. And Rose, as only an Alta Yiddish mama can do, looks with that sparkle in her eye at the young man, and she says, Sonny, I am 92 years old. My husband is 97 years old. We may not have 45 minutes. Shluchim don't have spare time. We don't get a day off. Even on vacation, should we happen to have one, we're on duty. We constantly juggle the minyan, the bills, the counseling, time with the family, carpool, charity work, welfare. We work 24/7. Ironically, our job makes us work hardest on Shabbos. We teach, we learn. Busy as we are helping everybody else, we are expected to further our personal study every single day without exception. I remember when I was about 6 years old, I first glimpsed how a shliach's life means using every moment to the fullest. The legendary Rabbi Nachman Bernard came to visit our family. I don't remember anything that they spoke about, but as he was about to leave, he opened his diary to schedule a follow-up meeting. And I remember seeing that diary. Every part of it was crammed full with appointments. Every entry had something inked in. A man who used every moment to the fullest. May the Eibishter grant her of Shleimo Kreva Tarav Nachman Meir ben Leah, that he should be able to continue to inspire and to lead and to fill many more days with meaning. You know, Jews are all hardwired to never miss a beat, to constantly work, to use every opportunity to the max. But Chabadniks, and especially Shluchim, are the doyens of making every day count. A member of our community once shared a report back at Shul from having been at the Kinous Hachlouhim. And he said, you know, you all think that our rabbi is such an amazing man. Well, let me tell you, I've been to New York, and there are thousands more like him. I tell you, that was almost the last time I brought a guest to the Kinous. But he is right. Anan, poyale diyamama anan. We are out there making a difference every single day. And a lot of what we do is collecting. Not necessarily collecting money. You know, you always get that dumbstruck response from people when they first meet a shliach, and he says, I'm after your mitzvahs, not your money. We're out there collecting. We go from Seattle to Stockholm to Singapore, collecting Jews to make communities. And through the year, we collect moments to make meaningful. You need tremendous strength to survive a crisis, but it takes fortitude to keep the day-to-day work going. After 12 months of us having invested value into every single day, we come together this one time a year to energize, to recharge, to be able to go back and do more. And over the years at the Kinous, we've come to expect certain highlights at the banquet, like Rabbi Kotlarski's announcement, which we'll hear later, for the spontaneous dancing. Always preceded by his theatrical announcement to give a round of applause for the whole world. Reb Moshe is not simply being dramatic when he says those words. That is literally how the Rebbe saw the Kinous Hachlouhim Ha'olami. This year marks 25 years from when the Rebbe changed the Kinous into an international Kinous. The Rebbe insisted that this event is not just an international conference. It is really the assembly of the whole world. Here, the Jewish people, the geography of the entire globe, and every moment in time are all brought together. Tonight's official guest list tops 4,500 people, K'nai. But the Rebbe says that in reality, there are hundreds of thousands more sharing this event vicariously through us. Of course, our key partners are here with us. You know, we set up the ostensibly important appointments. We arrange the glitzy events. We teach the sophisticated JLI classes. And we, hopefully, make a few bucks. But at the end of the day, people are not inspired by what we tell them as they are inspired by what we show them. When they step into our homes and experience the warmth, the meaning, the seder, the healthy family dynamics, that truly impresses them. When you give a shiur, they say, that's interesting. When they visit your home, they say, I want some of that. And that dugma chaya is achieved by the shluchos, our backstops and partners. They are grooming the next generation of dedicated, confident Hasidim and Shluchim. Here tonight, each of us acknowledges, Sheli v'shelcha shelahu. Our success is their success, and they are with us here at the Kinous. And our children who grow up sharing Tati and Mommy with hundreds of other people while they socialize with kids who prefer PlayStation to Parasha. They are happy. They are enthusiastic. They go out there and do things that we could never achieve in our shlichus. They unquestionably are here with us as well. But more so, the Rebbe explains that Michael, who drops off $18 a month for the Chabad house, and Barry, who has stopped eating shellfish but still will not step into shul, and Shirley, who has finally enrolled her son in your Hebrew school, they, the Rebbe says, are also here at this unique gathering. And more relevant to this year's Kinous, the Rebbe says we arrive here bo'im bayomim, not just a collection of places, but the coalescence of millions of days of investment that all of us have collectively made to create the vision that is the Rebbe's for the world. We Shluchim have a huge task on our hands, but we get there. Kol yoima v'yoima. 4 years ago, Rabbi David Katz from London invited me to join one of the spiritual treks. It's a fancy form of outreach that he regularly holds. And it was to go 15,000 feet up to the top of Mount Meru in Tanzania. Now, of course, we all know Shluchim are fitness freaks. So I immediately agreed. To reach the summit of that mountain took 3 of the most grueling, challenging, exhausting days imaginable. You use every ounce of willpower and much more than you ever thought that you had just to drag yourself up to the top. But at the top, you feel exhilarated. The sense of achievement of going where you never believed possible is intoxicating. So we all whipped out our phones. Believe it or not, there is cell phone signal on the top of this mountain. And we texted our family and friends to tell them about our great achievement. In a flash, somebody sent me a text in return. Mazel tov, well done. I hope you realize you now have to get down. Some days, the avodah is the rush of the climb. And other days, it's the schlep of the return. We all have our good days, our difficult days, our uplifting days, our dark days. In Chabad, we even have our bad beard days. They're all part of the experience. As we read in the Hayom Yom just a few days ago, a summer's day and a winter's night form a whole year. Standing on the top of the world, having outdone all of our personal expectations, we were absolutely sure that we could not achieve anything else meaningful that day. Turns out we did. As we headed down the mountainside, the beautiful azure sky gave way to rolling mist. Meanwhile, a completely irreligious Jew, Josh from San Francisco, was making his way up the mountain. I highly doubt that Josh had trekked to East Africa to have a spiritual experience, and he probably did not imagine he would see a Jewish face during the whole time he was there. So imagine his surprise arriving at the base camp just as, in a scene straight from Mount Sinai, a group of 10 Jews replete with 2 rabbis materialize out of the mist. He could not refuse our request for him to put on tefillin for the first time since his bar mitzvah. Who knows what happened next to Josh, but that one day certainly changed his life, even just a little. Every day makes a difference. Most times we don't see it. And when we do, it's encouraging, it's reassuring, it's motivating. Our family once spent a summer vacation running the shul in the retreat town of Plettenberg Bay in South Africa. One morning after davening, an elderly man walks in. And you know how it is, just at that moment when you thought you could have some quality time with your family, and a fellow walks over and you know that your off day is about to become a long day. Anyhow, this fellow says to me he would like to talk to me for just a few minutes. So I agree, and he launches into a story that apparently began 8 years earlier and looked like it would take that long to tell. Just to give you some background, Plettenberg Bay is a sleepy, nothing-ever-happens seaside town for 10.5 months of the year before the hordes converge on it for 6 weeks of summer. The permanent Jewish population in those days was tiny and fractured. Some were traditional Jews who ran their own ad hoc Friday night services, and the rest were a mix and match of disgruntled, intermarried, or agnostic Jews who kept their own private society of sorts. And Sam was of the latter group. So Sam begins his story. He says, one day there's a ring at my doorbell. I open the door. 2 yeshiva students standing there in front of this oversized van with this name Mitzvah Tank emblazoned on it. So I invite them in, and they come, and we sit down, and we chat. We had a wonderful conversation for a couple of hours, peppered with the request, would you please like to put on tefillin? And I adamantly refused them right through the conversation, even as they took a parting shot halfway out the door, asking me. I said, no, not interested. 2 weeks later, he tells me it's Rosh Hashanah, and I'm feeling guilty, as every good Jew is supposed to apparently, for having refused to put on tefillin. After all, he says, when I was a child, I used to wear tefillin, and those boys seemed like nice boys. I don't know what got into me that I turned them down. So I decided to make a New Year's resolution at Rosh Hashanah. I dug out my old tefillin from my bar mitzvah, and I began to put on tefillin every day. On the next Rosh Hashanah, he tells me, I'm still feeling guilty. So I figured I've been wearing tefillin every day for a year. I should probably upgrade my spirituality somehow. That year, I took on a resolution. When I wear the tefillin, I'm also going to say something. So he began to read the Shema every morning. A year later, and another cheshbon hanefesh, personal reckoning, and he decided it was time to upgrade from just saying the Shema to read a few more daily prayers, which he did for a year. And by now it was becoming what he was used to, the annual new mitzvah. So the following Rosh Hashanah, he thinks to himself, I pray every day, I wear my tefillin every day, perhaps I should study some Torah. So he tells me, I went back to my closet, you know, the one you keep all the junk that you never plan to ever use again, and I sifted through it and I found the last Jewish relic that I had, a Pentateuch, the Chumash. I pulled it out and I started that week to read the weekly Torah portion. Week after week after week for a year. And now a year later, the next Rosh Hashanah, he says, I'm thinking to myself, I've been wearing tefillin every day. And I've said the Shema and various other prayers every day. And now I've been studying the Torah portion every week. Perhaps I should learn something deeper, something more advanced. So he says, I looked on the web and I found a fantastic site called Chabad.org. And I started to download interesting content on the weekly Torah portion, and I was hooked. But the next Rosh Hashanah is when I had my epiphany. That Rosh Hashanah is when I felt truly guilty. Here I was, praying, wearing tefillin, studying Torah. And there's a whole community in Plettenberg Bay of disaffected Jews, and I haven't included them in the process. So he says, that year I decided that I'm starting my own Torah class in my house for all the Jews of Plettenberg Bay who are not part of the mainstream community. And now he tells me we have just completed our third cycle of studying the portion of the week with the commentary of Chabad.org. And the saddest thing he tells me is those 2 students who came to my door left thinking their mission had failed. If only there was a way to let them know what a success it had been. So, Rabbi, I don't know anybody in Chabad, but I'm pretty sure you do. Perhaps you could find a way to get this message to those boys that the grumpy old man from Plettenberg Bay was not a failure, but actually a remarkable success story. Now, by now, my nerves were at breaking point, and I said to him, Sam, let me make this easier for you. After all, I remember just how stubborn you were when my friend and I came to put tefillin on with you in 1992. Invest in a day and it is never wasted. Kol yoma v'yoma ovid avidate. On the roof of Africa in Tanzania, I confronted the keystone lesson that Sam from Plet had learned during his spiritual journey. What may have been good enough for yesterday is not sufficient for today. Yesterday you may have conquered the world, but what are your plans for today? This year we commemorate 200 years since the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad. The Alter Rebbe launched one of the most daring spiritual revolutions in Jewish history by taking the most profound, most sublime secrets of the Torah and making them accessible to the general public, paving the way to bring Mashiach. 2 centuries later, Hasidus is no longer maverick. Everybody wants in. 70 years ago, the Rebbe released the Hayom Yom and prefaced it with the Frierdiker Rebbe's words, ask yourself every day, was hab ich getan und was tu ich, zu verleichtern die Chevle Mashiach und solche zu sein zu der Geula Schleime durch Mashiach Tzidkenu. What have I done today to ease the birth pangs of Mashiach and bring the Geula closer? Ask yourself today, because today may make all the difference. 21 years ago, the Rebbe addressed this conference and outlined the Hayom, the charge of the day for our generation to stand ready to greet Mashiach. Every era has a unique energy that forms the gateway for all spiritual progress. And today, that energy is about actively preparing for Mashiach. This is not another item on our to-do list. You know, pay the telephone bill, put the fill-in on with Joe Cohen, prepare for Mashiach. To stand ready for Mashiach informs the mood, the attitude, the atmosphere, the passion for everything that we do at every moment of every day. It is like the excitement that you feel before a family simcha that electrifies every other activity. Kol yoma v'yoma avi davidate. Today's shlichus is unique. It is to stand at the ready. One of Mashiach's main tasks is kibbutz goluyos, to gather the Jews from around the whole world and to bring together every moment of time. Kibbutz goluyos is right here in this room. Here world Jewry is brought together. Here every place on earth is united in meaning. Here every moment of time merges into a single profound message. Here all the days we have invested in our shlichus fuse into Bayom Hahu, the great day of revelation. Here is where we collate day after day after day of hard work into eternal time, into Yom Shekuloi Shabbos U'Menucha L'Chayei Ha'Olamim, into the day of everlasting Shabbos. We are ready. All we need is for Mashiach himself to walk into this room and lead us, and through us our communities, to the Geula Shleima. May it happen Hayom, today. May today be the day that truly changes the world for good forever. May tonight's real keynote address be addressed by our Rebbe himself with the coming of Mashiach now.
Thank you, Rabbi Shishler. Please be seated. Shh. Shmulik. This year, Chabad Shluchim and the Jewish world have suffered an immeasurable loss. The passing of one whose care, concern, compassion, love for each and every shliach around the world. For there is no community around the world that has not been touched by one of the programs initiated by him and his family. Tonight we pay tribute to Reb Shmuel, Reb Yeshua Eliyahu Rohr, and we pay tribute to his legacy. Please direct your attention to the screen.
I started reading the letters of the Alte Rebbe's Rosayuren Aleinu. And when I came to Igeres HaKodesh Kaf Beis, I knew immediately, this is my Rebbe. A Rebbe who does not claim to have supernatural powers to foresee the future. A Rebbe who cares about the well-being of every one of his Hasidim. For those of you who study Hayom Yom like I do, please note that surprisingly, the Rebbe in his notes of the 13th of Tishrei writes that the Igeres HaKodesh Kaf Beis is not complete as printed in the Tanya.
Before his encounters with the Tanya and Hayom Yom, Reb Shmuel had met Lubavitcher Hasidim on their visits to Bogota, Colombia, where he lived and was exposed to the work of Chabad during his travels. It was because of these encounters that in 1979 he offered to fund the first shluchim to Colombia.
When he came to Bogota, the first thing he told me is the Rebbe told him that he has to stay in Bogota until Mashiach comes. And I said, wait a minute, I made only an agreement for 3 years. Rabbi Yeshua laughed, 3 years? Oh, Mashiach will have come a long time ago.
And stay they did. When Reb Shmuel's business dealings took him to the newly freed Soviet Union, together with his wife Charlotte, he saw to it that Yiddishkeit was built in every city where he did business. From there, it spread even further. Before long, there was not a Jewish community across the globe that was not touched by a center, a shliach, or a program dedicated to spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit connected with Sammy Rohr. But for all these years, Sammy Rohr himself had never approached the Rebbe.
The Rebbe is so busy with saving a whole continent. I'm going to come to tell him that my birthday is this, or I need this or that. Well, I'm not going to bother him. I felt that every minute of the life of the Rebbe was too precious to be bothered by my personal...
But in 1989, he decided it was finally time. Writing to the Rebbe, he expressed why the change.
Kafaf Adar Tavshin Nun Aleph. Today I come to the Rebbe Shlita with my heart full of gratitude. I decided to come to the Rebbe Shlita to thank him.
Wir können den Rebbe geben einen größten Dank, einen größten Schkoyach, weil der Rebbe in seinem Sicher vom zweiten Tag Schwiees hat gesagt, dass jeder darf lernen, Aschir mit anderen Menschen. Und Rabbi Lipske in Miami hat mir sehr gewöhnt noch mehr, als ich soll lernen mit Menschen. Und ich gebe jetzt Aschir. Und in meinem ganzen Leben habe ich nicht so viel gelernt wie Hand, weil ich darf noch umreiten auf dem Schiff.
Das war keine gleiche Sache, ja.
Das war gleiche Sache. Und sehr fein, und wegen dem bin ich gekommen, glatt geben, den Reben Aschkoich. Ein größten Schkoich.
Und die nächste Schiene ist nach ein paar Minuten. Wir waren nicht in meiner Sport.
After his passing, Sammy Rohr's daughters, Evelyn Katz and Lillian Tabasinik, and his son George and their children continue his legacy forward, demonstrating that his commitment to Jewish education and Avos Yisrael truly began at home. Several years ago, Reb Shmuel undertook to build a visitor's center at the Alter Rebbe's resting place in Haditch, a project which will be dedicated this Yud Tes Kislev. And in his memory, his family has undertaken to publish a comprehensive compilation on Tanya, culminating a project in which the Rebbe invested many years of labor. A team of scholars will be preparing the Rebbe's Rishimas on Tanya over the next 2 years, a testament to the fact that the businessman, Torah scholar, philanthropist, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather named Sammy Rohr continues to live on.
Please join me in giving a bracha for Arichas Yomim V'Shonim Tovos, success in all of their endeavors, to the Rohr family, to George who is here, his brother-in-law Rav Moshe Tabasinik who is here, should have success in everything that they do. We will now call the roll call of 2012 Tufshin Ayin Gimel. We will travel around the world alphabetically, and as I am growing older, I came to the realization that it is time to ask for some help. So in the roll call I will be joined by 10 of the Kinous Hachlouhim, who are participating in the Kinous Hachlouhim convention of over 800 children of the Shluchim from around the world, which is coordinated by the Shluchim office. And they will be joining us from the Trianon and the Sutton and Regent ballrooms. Chabad.org and Lubavitch.com and all of the other internet sites, let us welcome Chabad of cyberspace. Let us welcome the Shluchim to Argentina. The Shliach to Armenia. The beautiful delegation from Australia. The Shluchim from Austria. The Shluchim from Azerbaijan.
Let us welcome the Shluchim from Belarus. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Belgium. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Brazil. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Bulgaria.
Let us welcome the Shliach from Cambodia. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Canada. Let us welcome a new Shliach to the Cayman Islands, Rabbi and Mrs. Moshe Katz, the Shliach to the Cayman Islands. Let us welcome the Shluchim to Chile. Let us welcome the Shluchim to the People's Republic of China. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Canada. Let us welcome the Shliach to the Congo. Let us welcome the Shliach to Costa Rica. Let us welcome the Shliach to Croatia. The Shluchim to Cyprus. The Shluchim to the Czech Republic.
Welcome the Shluchim from Denmark. Welcome the Shluchim from Dominican Republic. Welcome the Shluchim from Ecuador. Welcome the Shluchim from England. Welcome the Shluchim from Estonia.
Let us welcome the Shliach to Finland. Let us welcome the Shluchim to France.
Welcome the Shluchim from Georgia. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Germany. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Greece. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Guatemala. Let us welcome the Shluchim from Hungary.
We will never forget. We will never forget the Shluchim who gave their lives al Kiddush Hashem in that horrific day in Mumbai in India. Rabbi Gabi and Rivki Holtzberg, whose yahrzeit will be this week on Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Kislev. They continue to remain an inspiration to all of us. Let us welcome the Shluchim to India. Let us welcome the Shliach to Ireland. I welcome the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs from Eretz Yisrael, who's here together with a delegation from the official delegation from the government of Eretz Yisrael, from the Foreign Ministry, together with the Mayor of Ashdod. Let us welcome them, and let us welcome the Shluchim from Eretz Yisrael.